Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Cookiecast. This is part 2 of the Wrestlemania special with Paul Williams. This is the back end of Wrestlemania and a catch-up of what happened in the subsequent Raw and SmackDown episodes. I carry on the game of trying to guess the winner of each match. And we get a lovely rundown from Paul about how WrestleMania was as a whole. So tune in to part 2 of the Cookiecast WrestleMania special. Paul Williams, an organic part 2, an actual physical break. I don't have to edit this one.
Well, I was just about to say, when you say organic, I mean, what is that supposed to mean? But you've just explained it, so no need for the explanation.
Well, for the podcast listeners, it'll be a mere one will end and another will start. But for you and I in real time, it's
been a whole 7 English days.
7 English days and 8 American days.
I'm almost certain that's not true.
4 Italian days.
Somewhere.
This is part 2 of. I've decided I'm going to do certainly the top, if not the tail, of this podcast to save me time in editing. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of Paul Williams's chat about WrestleMania 34. Nailed it again. I think I got it right. This is the last time. Since the last time we sat down, the temperature has quadrupled.
Yeah, it pretty much. It's game over. It's now officially summer.
It isn't because
there was more than one person in the office today who had shorts on.
It might even be as soon as tomorrow. All of this weather's going to be gone. We're going to be back to winter.
No.
The weekend's supposed to be awful.
It's officially started, and you have to deal with it. It's here. But shorts are pretty much used in all conditions.
No, as I said to you earlier today, the shorts I was wearing were crushing my internal organs.
I mean that's it's going to be interesting when I have to crack out my shorts because they're probably definitely.
I was terrified, and I got a pair out and I put them on and went, well, I can't get them over my legs.
That's because your legs are so swell, man.
They're pretty swell, to be fair.
Swell.
Did 300 in the gym today.
Costed. Absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, it was amazing. I just boshed them out as well. It was like...
Yeah, but I bet you were straightening your legs and everything, weren't you? Not giving one solitary fuck.
I didn't. Too many times. So, part 2 of WrestleMania. Yes. How many matches are left?
So we had 5 matches to cover as of the termination of recordation.
Okay.
Last time. So we left it on a high note, as some people might say, because John Cena had just been thoroughly spanked.
Yes.
By the returning Undertaker.
He'd had his pants pulled down and his little bottom smashed.
Pretty much. And has since come out in the last couple of weeks. He has split up with his fiancée.
He has.
Which is interesting because at the previous year's WrestleMania is when he'd proposed to her. So that engagement lasted just about a year.
I was saying to you the other day, we had a small chat about it, and that went along the lines of somebody was saying that about 5 months ago he had been in an interview where he was saying, in a long-term relationship you have ups and downs, but at the down times I just have to think, I can't live without her. And the person who was relaying this story, I'll give him his credit, it was Bill Burr on Bill Burr's podcast. It was the... In fact, no. I'm doing a misjustice. I'm pretty sure it was Ralph Garman on Hollywood Babylon said, "No, you apparently can live without her." Stop saying things like that.
Yeah, well, that's just how it is, isn't it?
Because they were both coming out saying how much they love and respect each other, whilst going their separate ways.
Total bullshit. But that's just how it is. So yes, Undertaker beats John Cena. About 3 minutes or something like that. Don't think John Cena got an offensive move in. Pretty funny. So yes, which moves us on to the next match. Now the next match was probably the match that I'd say 75% of the people in the audience were probably looking forward to the most.
And again, not the headliner.
Not the main event, but it was the return of everyone's favourite son, Daniel Bryan. So, a little bit of backstory for those who didn't know. So, Daniel Bryan
He's had 85 concussions.
That can't be right.
In 8 minutes.
Right, okay. I thought you were actually pulling out a stat there. And I was thinking,
no, he's had. I think your statistic was he's had 30 concussions in.
I'd be amazed if it's not more than that. But
that's
so
not
this is a guy who I think he started wrestling in 2000. So
nearly 18 years.
But he's almost he must that's got to be a lie. It can't be 2000. It must have been before that. I can't remember. So he's been wrestling for so long. He was basically the king of the indies. He was the sort of the main guy of the independent scene.
As far as wrestling's concerned, he is not very tall. No, quite skinny, weedy, whatever, and everybody loves him. Basically,
the polar opposite of everything you would imagine would get you over with the crowd.
Yeah.
So he's not tall.
No.
He's not ripped.
No.
He's not massively charismatic on the microphone.
No. He's just a little beardy guy.
He looks a little bit like a hobbit.
A cross with a homeless person.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be surprised if he asked you for change at some point.
He got over.
Yeah, he got over big.
But he got over huge because the reason he got over big was because at WrestleMania 28, he was in the first match of the night, the first match of the card against Sheamus in their World Heavyweight Championship match, and that match lasted 18 seconds.
Wow.
And I think it was one of these matches that had been built up as quite a big match on the card and stuff like that. And then obviously it's the first match on. So people are thinking, well, hang on a second, this guy's just... So Sheamus had won the Royal Rumble, which normally means that you get to main event.
Okay.
But I'd have to look through it, because I'm pretty sure the guy who's won the Royal Rumble hasn't main evented WrestleMania for, 2 or 3 years at least.
Okay.
So that means nothing nowadays, winning the Royal Rumble. It just means you get a championship match. It's not always going to be the main event.
Okay.
So... Yeah, the main event of what was supposedly the main event of WrestleMania 28 was on first and lasted 18 seconds, and people were this is bullshit. We're not having this. So turned it as a negative against Daniel Bryan into a huge positive, and everyone was just basically all in on Daniel Bryan from that point.
I'm gonna go all in.
So the next year he had a match that he was just in a throwaway tag team match, sort of, and then the year after. With WrestleMania 30. Again, New Orleans, same as this year's WrestleMania has just been. This is the WrestleMania that I went to. And he was again in the first match of the night. But this time, he was up against Triple H. And the stipulation was, whoever won that match would then get added to the main event.
Okay.
The actual main event for the championship.
Okay.
And then would fight again at the end of the night. So Daniel Bryan wins against Triple H, goes on to the main event, wins the main event, and becomes the champion. Huge celebration, ticker tape, everything, obviously, because it was confetti and stuff like that falling down. I obviously snaffled some to bring home in a bag for various people back here. And then obviously it was just my memento of being at WrestleMania.
Can I just rewind one second?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure I heard you say... the words beat Triple H.
Yeah, did we not cover that in the last one?
Nobody beats Triple H.
Did we not cover that in the last one?
We had this long conversation about how...
They put something up on their Twitter feed the week of, and it was people to have won the most matches at WrestleMania. Obviously, The Undertaker was top because he won like 23 or something like that.
Wow.
Then next on the list, I think it was Triple H with 12 or 13.
But he's also had the
the losses, he's also got 12 or 13 because obviously he's been wrestling at WrestleMania since I think he made his debut at 12, and he's then wrestled every time since, pretty much. I think.
For a minute there, I was like, he started wrestling when he was 12.
No, not quite.
No, I didn't.
But yes, so he had WrestleMania 12, and then obviously through, but. Like I said in the last one, if you actually go back through the last sort of 10 years worth of WrestleManias, I think he's maybe only won like 2 matches.
That doesn't sound right.
So people always have a go at him saying that he just buries loads of people to put himself over. But especially at WrestleMania, I honestly think he's only won like 2 matches in his last 10 years.
That doesn't sound right to me because I got bored of seeing Triple H on the wrestling.
But it's weird because one of the guys that he did beat was Brock Lesnar, and like in the last sort of 2, 3, 4 years, Brock Lesnar's been built up as this absolute unstoppable monster. that no one can beat and stuff like that. I think in the last 2 years before WrestleMania, he'd only been pinned by The Undertaker once.
I still love Joe Rogan's sketch about Brock Lesnar, where it was like, you know, Brock smash. And just like, if he wanted to fuck you, he could, because, you know, he's Brock Lesnar.
I was just thinking, I don't know what you're about there, and then I was like, no, I actually do. I literally watched that entire episode downstairs with you after we'd recorded one of these.
Brock smash.
Oh my god!
Shout out to Joe Rogan.
So WrestleMania 30, he won the championship, and then within, I think it was like 6 weeks, his dad had died.
Shit.
He got married, so that was a bonus. But so he got married, which was brilliant. But his dad then passed away. I probably did these in the wrong order.
I was because I was like, his dad died.
But he got married.
And in my head I went, oh, so his life got worse then.
Yeah. Hey. So he got married, massive plus. But then his dad passed away, huge down. And then he got injured, and it turned out that the injury was worse than they first thought. So they were going to try and have him wrestle through it, or just sort of like keep him off TV for a couple of weeks.
Don't do that.
Turns out they couldn't keep him off TV for long enough because the injury was worse than they first thought. So they had to strip him of the title.
No.
And then he finally came back later in the year, had another couple of matches, won a title at WrestleMania 31, and then it turns out that he was injured again. So again, had to relinquish the title.
Jeez.
And then he was basically just sort of swimming around for a bit, just not doing an awful lot and stuff like that. And then it came to the start of, I think, 2016, and he officially had to retire because he was told by concussion experts and stuff like that he'd had too many concussions. His brain wasn't like performing on the same levels when he was doing tests and stuff like that. So he was told that he'd have to retire, basically. So they were doing.
How old is he at that point?
36, maybe, when he was told he had to retire.
Oh, man, can you imagine going to work one day and somebody's like, "No, you're 36 years old, but it's time for you to retire."
It was obviously like fair enough for him because he's probably got enough money saved up, but
yeah,
like in his head, he'd still had so much more to accomplish and stuff like that. So for the last 2 years, he's been the general manager of
because I was going to say
he's still on TV pretty much every week.
Yeah,
but he was on the no touch list. So WWE has this no touch list, which means if there's people that go on the show, they can't be touched because like they'll be injured or worse and stuff like that. So people that are on that no touch list, there's it was Daniel Bryan until he got cleared. Edge is on that list because he got something called spinal stenosis, which is why he had to stop wrestling. And it just means that he can't do any physical activities within the ring for fear of if he bumps wrong, he could paralyse himself and stuff like that. I'm giving it all this big licks about this no touch list. I can't think of anyone else who's on it, to be honest with you. But basically, anyone who's either retired through an injury is basically put on this don't put them in like a physical altercation.
Which, you know, it's one of those things. Again, it's going to turn into the We Love Joe Rogan podcast, or I Love Joe Rogan podcast, because, you know, I do. But I was listening, I tried to get you to listen to his latest podcast.
Oh, yes.
Because he did this quite a long bit about wrestling, and he was saying that he was saying whether you class it as a sport or not, it was like it's entertainment. But then he was saying, as far as abuse on the body, it has to be number one.
Oh, big time. Well, we said that. I don't know if it was the WrestleMania podcast or if it was the one we did before that. But we said it's got to have the highest mortality rate below 50 of any sport, activity, entertainment in the world.
Yeah.
just because the physical toll it puts on the body, and then you'll have people that take pain medication to get over that pain.
Well,
get addicted to it.
Weirdly,
take the wrong kind of thing.
Weirdly, this is why I was trying to get you to listen to that thing, because Mark and Chris Bell, their brother, Mad Dog, that was basically exactly what he went through. He went through. He was in the WWE as a, I don't know what they're called, like a not like someone who has a name. Like he had a different name every now and then.
Yeah,
it's like the little guy fights the.
So now they call them enhancement talent.
That sounds familiar.
But they would in the business they'd probably call him a job guy.
That rings
or
a bell.
Jobber. It's just a guy who's basically there to get the other guy over.
Yeah, so that was what he did, and he turned up. He had a ridiculous number of names throughout the time he was there, but his dream was to be a WWE wrestler. Yeah. That's what he wanted, and he was in the WWE. And I think one of them was saying that one of them was as well, and that was what they grew up with, and they were obsessed with it. And Hulk Hogan's featured massively in that first documentary. But their brother died because of the pain medication.
It's crazy because like everyone always thinks it's all steroids and stuff like that, but most of the time it's not. It's the pain pills and stuff like that.
You need to watch those two documentaries because that's what they're both about. The first one's about steroids, and the second one's about prescription pain medication.
So some of the stories you hear are insane. Like Kurt Angle, for example, he's a prime example because I think that when he came back to the company a couple of years ago, or last year, they did a documentary about him, or like a sit down interview with him where he talked through a few of his like problems and stuff like that. And he kept like saying stuff like when he's at the worst point, his pain pill addiction was getting to something like where he was taking something like 60 a day.
So, not wanting to keep going on about that podcast, but they did a massive bit about Kurt Angle in that podcast. So, Chris Bell, he did the Prescription Thugs documentary, but the irony of that was whilst he was going around going, this is this, and this is that, and this is the other about prescription drugs, he was addicted to prescription drugs.
Right.
But they were talking about Kurt Angle, and how Kurt Angle was basically told, you either give up the drugs, I think alcohol as well, or you're fine.
Yeah. Well, that's why he got let go from WWE, because he couldn't stop taking the pain pills. And this was the problem. He couldn't stop drinking.
He couldn't do it.
No.
And they basically went, you either stop or you're fired. And I think, like you say, he was subsequently fired. But I think somebody then came in to help him and get him off it. But is it something about his neck's fused or something?
Yeah. So in 2003. He had to have neck fusion. Oh no, I don't know what it was. It wasn't like neck fusion, but it was like. So normally neck fusion surgery either puts you out of action for a year, or it ends your career. But he went for this experimental surgery where they did something like, I think they borrowed a piece of bone from like his hip, and like put it in to reset it or something. I don't really know the ins and outs, the entire details. But
sounds amazing.
But they did that. I've kind of lost track of where we were.
We are way off track right now.
So, Daniel Bryan.
Who's he again?
So he retired in 2016.
Then became general manager.
So he's still on TV. And he was on the no-touch list. So basically, for 2 years, he would sort of come out, he'd like in the storyline and stuff like that, he'd basically make the matches and stuff like that for that week's SmackDown and stuff like that. So at the start of the year, or maybe a couple of weeks before WrestleMania, they released on Twitter that he'd now been medically cleared to continue to restart his in-ring competitive career.
So I don't know if you and I did this on the last podcast, or if this is just a conversation that you and I had when I said, "Oh, sorry, I was coming back."
Probably something we had. I was literally going to say, probably a conversation we had at school.
Old doctors had cleared him, but the wrestling doctors hadn't.
Yeah. So for 2 years. He was going to see physicians, specialists and stuff like that, and was always told, you're absolutely fine, your CT scans are coming back negative, your brain lesions have all gone.
Brain lesions?
Your tests are all coming back brilliant, like better than they were before or something like that. And then he'd go to see WWE's physician and would be told, we don't like the results. give it another couple of months, come back, see us, we'll run them again, and we'll see if they're any better. So, his contract was due to run out, I think, maybe June, July of this year. Mm-hmm. And he'd already come out saying, if WWE won't clear me, I'll let my contract run out, and I'll just go wrestle in, like, Japan, the UK, somewhere else in America, etc., etc.
Then strangely got cleared by...
So I think what's happened is that WWE have said to their physician, right, have a look at his test results again. If you don't think he's good, to go, that's fine, we'll accept it. But, like he said, he's just going to go wrestle somewhere else, where they don't have as much sort of, like, protection of the wrestlers and stuff like that. Which is true. No other company in the world will have the level of, like, medical care and cover that the WWE can offer, because the other companies just don't have enough money to do it. So they'll have the best doctors, the best physicians on retainer and stuff like that, and it probably makes more sense that if something does go wrong with him, he's in the best place possible to get it sorted now.
Yeah, I mean, you know full well I make no attempts to hide that I don't think that the WWE look after what is essentially their staff all that well. I mean, I've seen a couple of documentaries now that talk about, you know, these guys that make that company millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars walking out horribly injured.
Oh yeah,
without a penny. Now, admittedly, some of them, or I imagine a lot of them, that's self-inflicted through whether it's drugs or drink or bad marriages or what. But I think, you know, there was something. I've quoted this to you before, and I've said it many times, when The Rock was the biggest paid wrestler they had, and his contract was like $3 million or something. But you think how much that company was making off the back of him.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I know that at that time he was he talks a lot about how, you know, he made them a lot of money, but didn't really see all that much of it. $3 million is not an amount of money to sniff at. You want to give me $3 million? Cool. Well, you know. But in the grand scheme of when somebody's making hundreds of millions off your back and goes, oh, you know, there's some pocket money, and oh, you're injured, so
yeah,
see you later kind of deal.
I get it. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one, but you know, that's just the nature of business, I suppose, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, big business is big business at the end of the day.
Which is the way it is. So he gets cleared.
Yep.
And then he gets immediately put into a storyline with Shane McMahon, and they are put together as a tag team for WrestleMania to go up against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So a little bit of the backstory here is that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn had brutally attacked Shane McMahon in the ring.
I know I keep interrupting. I think after my last interruption, I realised that it's me that's derailing all of this. But I really can't get on board with the Shane McMahon thing.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you know, oh, Daddy owns the company, and oh, I want to be a wrestler, and he goes out, and you know what's worse is that you see him win stuff, and it's just silly things. It's just silliness. Anyway, Karen.
But to be fair to him, he left the company in 2009 because he didn't. I think he was under the impression that if he'd stuck around, he wasn't going to be put in as like the number one. He wouldn't have been like the number one guy. He wouldn't have been the first in command when Vince finally steps down, which would probably never happen. I think it got obvious at that point that Stephanie was more.
I was going to say Stephanie's got bigger testicles than him.
Pretty much.
Is the show,
and she was basically positioned as the person that's going to take over alongside Triple H when Vince decides to call it a day, which, as we've just discussed, is probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
So he left and started doing his own outside ventures. So a lot of people sent me a text at this point because he turned up on TV at one of the golf majors because he was in the background when Rory McIlroy won. I think it was either the US Open or the US PGA.
Okay.
And Rory McIlroy had won the tournament, and his management team Shane McMahon worked for that company or was a partner in that company, so was basically all over the celebrations because he was working with Rory McIlroy.
See, this is the thing because, and I don't want to offend any wrestling fans out there that are listening to this, but how do I word it? The sitcom aspect, not even sitcom, like the entertainment side of it, when you move away from the sport side of it, because like I keep saying, you throw yourself off that top rope, it's a sport whichever way you slice it. It's like high dive or whatever. But there are certain elements that are scripted, there are storylines, there are this, that and the other. So when real things happen, because there was the whole Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. And I was like, oh, this is just like some, when they were getting together and they were getting married and stuff. And I was like, oh, it was just... And they was like, no, they're really married. It's like, they're really married in the show or what? It's like, no, they're married. And it's where, for want of a better way of putting it, fantasy crosses over into reality.
Oh, yeah.
So he actually left.
So he legitimately left the company. Was nothing to do with the company for 5-6 years, sort of 7 years, something like that. So I finally came back in 2016 to a huge response. Literally came back and everyone was like, "Whoa!"
I remember, I saw it.
And the best thing about that was the fact that Toots came up to me in work and was like, "Oh, do you see that Shane McMahon came back last night?" I was like, "I hadn't actually, because I haven't seen Raw yet, so thanks for that, you dick. Threw in that for me." So yeah, he came back. He went away. He made money. He went out, struck out on his own, and made a business and stuff like that.
Good on him.
But obviously he's now come back because I'm assuming someone's told him come back and you might be able to get a little bit of cash. You'll be able to do something with Stephanie and stuff like that, and sort out getting Vince gone or something like that. No idea.
Let's face it, Vince McMahon will be carried out.
He'll work until he dies.
He'll be carried out in a pine box. They'll take him out of his office in a pine box.
He seems to think he's omnipotent. He thinks he is indestructible, and he probably is to a certain extent.
Surely he's not too far away from getting back in the ring.
He did something last year with Kevin Owens, sticking on topic, where Kevin Owens headbutted him.
Nice.
In the middle of the ring.
Good on.
Then kicked him in the face.
Why not? And
then gave him the frog splash off the top rope.
Wow.
And Vince McMahon is 72, 73, something like that. Yeah. He's in his 70s. Yeah. And he's still getting in the ring and getting his head kicked in as well.
Good on him.
So that's basically where it all started, with this storyline that's led to this match that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan had with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Mm-hmm. So I went back to, I think it was maybe September, October last year.
Okay.
So Kevin Owens headbutted Vince McMahon, got him all bloody and stuff like that. So the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, it was Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon in Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
So of course it's Hell in a Cell. It's a big item. Mm-hmm. There's only one thing that's going to happen here. Mm. Shane McMahon is going to throw himself off said big item. Mm-hmm. So Shane McMahon goes to dive off the top of the cell and elbow drop Kevin Owens through a table that's at ringside.
As you do.
Of course. And at the very last second, Sami Zayn springs from nowhere and pulls Kevin Owens off the table, so Shane crashes and burns. And then it starts the whole Shane, Daniel, Kevin, Sami storyline. As
an aside,
yes.
How high
now
is one of those cells?
I think now it's either 20 or 25 feet.
Can you imagine climbing up 25 feet and then throwing yourself off it?
Yeah, it's insane.
That's like, what size of a house?
It's basically the equivalent of jumping off your own house.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. How he's not hurt himself more, I have no idea.
Oh, God.
But that's got to be the 5th, 6th, possibly even like into double figures time that he's either jumped or fallen off something that's that high. He's just an absolute mentalist. He's literally... He must be the world's biggest adrenaline junkie. Just has to be, because of the amount of stuff that he does like that.
So is this the point where I pick my winner?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So Daniel Bryan's first match in 2 years.
I mean, I'm not going to pick anything else, am I? Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon win.
It's another one that you've got correct.
Obviously.
And it's another one that I did not get correct, because I thought it was going to be... I thought personally this was going to be one of these things where Shane McMahon turns on Daniel Bryan to out himself as the huge piece of shit that he really, really is deep down. But no. Daniel Bryan slapped his trademark yes lock on Sami Zayn and got him to tap like a little baby. So your winners, Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan.
There you go. How many did I get right on the last one?
You'd only got a few wrong. So you're definitely in credit.
So,
let's put it that way.
Chalk another one up
in the W column for this guy. So we move on to our next match, and it is our final women's contest of the evening.
Presumed there'd be another lady one.
So this is for the Raw Women's Championship.
Okay.
And we have the champion, Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
Going up against her former friend, Nia Jax. Now, a little bit of background to give you a little bit of thing to sort of make you an educated guess. So Alexa Bliss, small, tiny, petite, heel, not a very nice girl, bit Mean Girls-esque.
Okay.
And Nia Jax is a plus-sized girl.
Okay.
Used to be a plus-sized model.
Nice.
Very pretty, to be fair. Used to be a plus-sized model.
Go on.
She is the Rock's cousin, so has the business in her blood.
Really.
And the storyline going into it was that Alexa had basically sort of taken the piss out of Nia for being a big girl, and that she was emotionally vulnerable and things like that.
Don't even need to. I mean, do you want to tell me about what happened, or shall I just go with the big girl wins?
So Nia Jax is Andrew's pick. Is that what you're saying?
Is Andrew's pick is correct.
Your winner.
And new.
Raw Women's Champion, Nia Jax. Yeah, so yeah, that one was a bit of a... I just had a look on it here. It says that the match was 10 minutes, 15 seconds long, which I am absolutely amazed by, because I only thought it was like 2 minutes. I'm surprised that was that long. So Nia Jax, your new Raw Women's Champion.
There we go.
So, moving swiftly on.
Okay.
We come to the winner of the Royal Rumble, which was Mr. Shinsuke Nakamura. You might have guessed from his name that he's a Japanese or an Oriental, an Asian flavour.
I was going to say, so a Texas boy then.
So Mr. Shinsuke Nakamura, the winner of the 2018 Royal Rumble, chose to face the current at this time, the current and defending WWE champion AJ Styles.
Alright.
Now, a lot of people were classing this as the dream match because they'd already faced each other when they were both wrestling in Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling. People loved the match the first time they had it and stuff like that, so people were thinking, ooh, this is going to be even better. It's on WrestleMania stage. You know, there's been lots of like story put into it, lots of time, loads of effort. So we've got AJ Styles, defending champion, going up against Royal Rumble winner Shinsuke Nakamura.
I'm going for, again, a belt handover.
Change of title.
The man from Japan.
Interesting. So Andrew Cook has gone for Shinsuke Nakamura to pick up the W and become the new WWE champion. Your winner. And still WWE champion.
You know something? Even when I was saying it, I was like, nah, I'm not this lucky. I'm not this lucky to get it right. But I stand by my choice.
No, personally, I also would have went on my picks. I went for a change of champion and was surprised when it didn't happen. But it was a good match. It was about 20 minutes long. Probably wasn't as good as people were building it up and hyping it up to be. Probably could have had a little bit more here and there, but it was a good solid match. You know, they had got all the stuff in, probably wanted to get in, told a good story. At the end, they had a hug, they had an embrace, and then Shinsuke dropped to his knees as if to sort of praise him and stuff like that. And then as AJ Styles was holding up the title, he wham! Gave him the old low blow.
Lovely stuff.
So I punted him, gave him the old club right in the stones.
Oh, beautiful work.
And then proceeded to, kick him in the face and stuff like that. So we have not only did he not win the championship, turned
heel.
Bad guy. So moving forward, we've got a bad guy, Shinsuke Nakamura, to look forward to, which could be quite interesting. So on the SmackDown after, he did an interview where one of the person that was interviewing was saying, Shinsuke, can we just get your comments on your heinous attack of AJ Styles and so on? And he was like, I'm so sorry for the pain and suffering that I've caused to AJ. I don't know what came over me. And she's like, that is so disingenuous. Why are you doing this? And then he went, sorry, me no speaking. And then walked off. And all you could hear was the crowd going, yeah! It was amazing. So brilliant. Moving forward, looking forward to the heel Shinsuke Nakamura. It could be quite good.
That'd be good.
So we come to our penultimate match of the evening. At this point, the crowd has probably been in that building for just about 6.5 hours.
Jeez.
So there's probably people there just thinking, "Oh my god, just get it over with. Come on, we need this to be going. We need to be done." So this is probably the most bizarre match of the evening.
Okay.
So we had Cesaro and Sheamus, collectively known as The Bar, defending their Raw Tag Team Championships, against Braun Strowman and a mystery partner. Ooh.
Okay.
So the intrigue straight off the bat.
A little bit of intrigue there, but why is a tag team match the
co-main event, if you will?
Yeah.
So they like to do these things called buffer matches. So back in the day, the buffer matches would have always been the women's matches because people didn't really care about
there was
the
less
matches.
interest in the women's stuff.
So you'd have two big matches, and you'd want to put something in the middle so that there was not a lot of, so that it would allow people to sort of be really up, and then they'd be able to sort of
calm down,
sort of set themselves watching this lesser match that they weren't as excited for, and then they'd be reinvigorated when the main event would come on.
Get a beer and a hot dog.
Maybe go and have a leak. Go get something to eat. Something like that. So this was basically the buffer match. However, it became more interesting when the surprise partner was announced.
So, I'm going to guess.
Brilliant. I love it.
Because so far we've not had my obligatory was this person at WrestleMania.
Oh my god, amazing. Yeah, I've not heard you say that yet.
I haven't. I've saved it because I had an inkling at one point because you and I had a conversation. Because WrestleMania in our world goes very much like this. At some point you mention it's WrestleMania, and I then ask you the same question every time. So, Paul.
Yes?
Was Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania this year?
Stone Cold Steve Austin did not make an appearance at this year's WrestleMania.
So, let me ask my follow-up question, which is usually the way things go. Was Dwayne The Rock Johnson at this year's WrestleMania?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson was not at WrestleMania this year.
What?
So to put in perspective, So, New Orleans, WrestleMania 30, the one I went to, which I keep mentioning, people are getting probably pissed off at me saying this over and over and over again. The opening of that event was Hulk Hogan as the host of WrestleMania.
Nice.
He is interrupted by The Rock.
Good lad.
Who is then in turn interrupted by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Beautiful work.
Might have been Hulk Hogan interrupted by Steve Austin, then interrupted by The Rock. I can't quite remember it in total. But the end of that was the fact that those three were stood in the ring, having beers, chilling out,
nice,
loving it. Textbook. So, sadly, you're 0 for 2 on your guesses. Do you want to have another guess?
Was it Hulk Hogan?
It was not Hulk Hogan. Seems though he's not so much banned from the company as that he's a little bit
yeah,
because he's a bit of a racist
amongst
other things.
Pretty sure there was a sex tape somewhere.
Yeah. Apparently it's not very good. I'm not surprised.
I'm surprised at this fact.
Yeah, it wasn't Hulk Hogan. So I could literally give you all the guesses in the world.
Yeah, at this point I'm other than Ric Flair.
Woo! That would have been excellent.
Yeah.
Wasn't Ric Flair.
No.
So I will give you the combatants, and then you can tell me who wins the match. So as we said before, Cesaro and Sheamus, the defending tag team champions, going up against Braun Strowman and Nicholas
Cage.
No known last name.
Pete, no known last name.
Yeah, Pete, no known last name.
Watching TV.
So Braun Strowman and Nicholas going up against Cesaro and Sheamus.
Who?
You mean you don't know who Nicholas is, Andrew?
I'm drawing a blank on this one.
You don't know Nicholas? You're telling me you don't know the 10-year-old child that he picked out of the crowd and brought into the ring with him to be his tag team partner?
Sweet Jesus.
So, he gets to the ring. Everyone knows that he's got a mystery partner.
Right.
So he then goes and says, do you all want to know who my mystery partner is? Okay. And everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
And then he just goes, well, you should want to know because it's going to be one of you. And everyone just goes, wait, what?
What
did he say? Did he actually say he's going to pick someone out of the crowd to be his tag team partner? So obviously, at this point, everyone's like, shit.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and as he's the best thing about it is as he's walking. So there's obviously he's walking through the crowd looking for this tag team partner, and there's a cameraman following him, and it just pans in on there as he's following him. There's this one guy who's just sat like at the end of a rush goes, "Hey, Braun, I'll be your tag team partner." Just a randomer who's obviously just taken the chance to try and get on camera.
Brilliant.
And then obviously they just walk straight past him.
I'm going to go past you.
So, he's walking around trying to make it look like he's looking for this tag team partner.
I'm sure.
And then he finally goes and he just goes, you! And goes and gets this child, who at first everyone's like, oh, he's picked a little girl out of the crowd. That's so amazing. And then he gets in the ring and he goes, what's your name, kid? Nicholas. How old are you, Nicholas? He's like, 10. So he basically goes, right, it's going to be me and Nicholas going up against these two.
Okay.
Do you want to have a guess at who wins?
The kid. I'm sure he power bombed him off
So your winners and new tag team champions is Braun Strowman and Nicholas.
How does that work? He's going to come back next week and defend his title.
I'll go through the rest of the match and then I'll explain what happened on Raw the night after.
Those fucking donkey balls, man.
So they have the match, and obviously Braun Strowman takes the majority of the match because you can't really have a 10-year-old kid going up against trained professional wrestlers, as they will actually physically kill him. So Braun Strowman's in there with the two guys at various different times, and at one point he tags Nicholas in. Nicholas gets into the ring, looks at the fact that there's two rather large men in front of him and just goes, turns around, tags him and just throws himself out of the ring straight away. So then, obviously, Braun Strowman pins... I think he pins Cesaro, I can't quite remember, but that match lasted a grand total of 4 minutes.
Oh, dear.
So, to put it in perspective, he spent more time looking for his partner than he did in the actual match.
Yeah, I'd have probably put the remote through the TV if I'd have been watching that.
It was a bit weird. But like I say, to say that it was supposed to be the buffer match, it probably had a little bit of a negative effect in that people were like, whoa, what the fuck? And then were like, oh my god, he's actually picked a kid out of the audience. And then as soon as he tagged the kid in, oh my god, everyone in that place lost their shit. Because it was like, oh my god, this kid's actually going to like try and pin one of these guys. And it was like, oh he tagged himself out again. Oh, what? And it was quite funny. So, the next night on Raw, you see Braun walk into the room, or Kurt Angle's office, and then the camera just does this and pans down to like his knees or whatever, because the kid's at about his knee level. And then he says, we're going to have to, unfortunately, Kurt, we're going to have to relinquish the tag titles. Turns out Nicholas has got commitment problems. He can't commit to a full-time schedule because he's still got to finish the 4th grade or whatever it was that it turns out he's got in. So they relinquish the tag titles, and then Nicholas says that don't worry because we're going to come back and get them, and someone's going to get these hands, which is Braun Strowman's catchphrase.
Oh, okay.
It's about.
I didn't know the relevance.
So sadly you didn't get to. Did you guess at the winners? I think you did, didn't you? You guessed at
the kid had to win.
The kid and
Braun Strowman.
So new tag team champions, and they've now relinquished the belts. So there is currently no Raw tag team champion.
I've just thought of something.
Brilliant. Hit me.
I'm gonna interject. I've just thought of something, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. It's a program that you and I could watch together.
Please.
So I got a few months ago. I got really into this program. Which is called Forged in Fire.
Right.
Which is on the History Channel.
I don't have a History Channel.
Because that makes me feel intelligent. No, it doesn't. It's just on the History Channel. But it was... So, it's one of these... I don't know what you would call it, like a contestant show. So, the idea is 4 people come on who are, quote-unquote, bladesmiths. They have 1 or 3 or 2... So they have some hours, a short amount of time, to make the start of some kind of bladed weapon. So usually a knife. So they'll design it and then they'll start making it out of something random. One person is then eliminated.
Right.
They then have... Let's say it's 3 hours. They then have 3 hours to finish that blade, put a handle on it, get it looking as best they can. But it needs to be functional because it will then be subjected to a series of tests. How sharp it is, how durable it is, whether it's damaged through the test and this, that, and the other. This can be like chopping a block of ice or chopping a tyre or, this sort of. So the 3 knives then go through the test. Whichever knife does the worst, that person's then eliminated.
Right.
The 2 remaining people are then sent home to their home forges to then have 5 days to do a recreation of a historic weapon.
Right.
And they've got like a bladed martial arts specialist who does like some of the stuff. They've got 2 guys who work in the recreation business, and I think they make stuff like films and stuff. And then the guy who presents it, who's got the best name ever, his name is Will Willis.
Obviously.
I had been watching it on that and didn't think anything of it, and then I'd seen some random video at some point of some guy who was also called Will Willis showing how to carry a man. If you've got like an unconscious man on the floor, how to get him off the floor on your own. And you basically do like a forward roll across his body and stand up. And I was like, hey, that guy's got the same name as that guy. No, same guy. He's ex-military, just... so I was like, and this I couldn't physically watch enough of this series. I just rinsed all episodes of up to that point in time. So the other day I saw an advert for a new version of Forged in Fire, and it's got a new name. It's like Forged in Fire, something, dramatic words.
recon mission
to
Moscow.
Blade of Death or something.
I really hope it's Blade of Death now. If it's not Blade of Death, I'm going to be so disappointed.
So, you want to know who one of the new presenters of Forged in Fire is?
Right. Given what you ask me every year, I'm going to obviously say the fact that it's obviously going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It isn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I'm going to give you a clue. We had quite a long conversation about this person in the last podcast, in the Wrestlemania Part 1 podcast.
Triple H?
No. One of the presenters of the new Forged in Fire is Goldberg. And he was on the trailer for it. I was like, Goldberg. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Bill Goldberg.
Amazing.
Gil Goldberg. Fair enough.
So, do you want to give us a rundown of Raw and or SmackDown?
Andrew.
Whoa, am I jumping the gun?
We have got the main event to discuss.
I was going to say, was that the end of WrestleMania?
Child, please.
Oh, okay.
You want to finish WrestleMania with the site being a 10-year-old kid holding a championship belt that's pretty much the same size as him.
That's why I thought it was weird.
Amazing. So, we go full speed ahead into the main event of the evening.
Finally. We've now been here 18 hours.
Basically, at this point, people have been there for over 7 hours.
Jeez.
Insane. So, if I was to ask you...
I'd have been crying.
Andrew, we're going to go to WrestleMania. Who's the one person you would want to see?
Brock Lesnar.
So, in the main event, we have the reigning, defending Universal Champion, Mr. Broccoli Lesnar.
Brockington Lesnar.
Using
his full name. 69.
Sorry?
Number 69.
For the...
Minnesota Vikings.
Well, practice squad.
Yeah. He played games. He was on the field.
Practice squad.
Played games.
Pre-season games.
Well, yeah.
It was so weird, actually, because I'm sure that he did a podcast with someone was talking about him on a podcast and had said that he'd said to them that NFL training camp, toughest thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe how much work you needed to put into it, or how intensive it was, or how hard it was going to be.
But was this still around the time that he was really unwell? Because did he go to the Vikings from the UFC?
No.
Or did he go to?
So he did the football before he did the UFC stuff. So he left WWE in 2004 after WrestleMania 20. Mm-hmm. Strange enough, after he'd lost to Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg. I wonder what he's doing these days.
Gil Goldberg. And he then went to the Vikings. Tried to make it as an NFL player, was told you're not good enough.
No.
See you later. So at that point, I think he went to Japan to wrestle in Japan because he wasn't allowed to wrestle anywhere in the States because of the terms of his deal were severed with WWE.
Yeah.
So they put these things in called no-compete clauses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for him, they put a 2-3 year no-compete in.
Yeah, I think his was quite substantial.
So he goes to Japan.
As you
do. Does little bits in Japan and stuff like that. And then went to the UFC. Trained in the UFC, became the UFC champion. Then got diverticulitis and had to retire from the UFC because basically he couldn't.
I think the point where he turned up to a UFC title match, I think he was champion at that time because it didn't take him long to become champion.
I think he was champion through his third fight.
I think at the point he turned up to a UFC champion match with a beard, looking like he'd already had the shit kicked out of him. He looked like he'd been jumped in. Dude,
you look like you've been bitched.
Yeah, he looked awful. Walked into the ring. I think the match lasted less than. Part of me wants to say less than a minute, but I think it was less than 3 minutes, and it was done. Because and then it was after that it came out that he was just so unwell.
Who was the guy who beat him? Was it Alistair Overeem?
Probably gonna have to Google it. I've got it on a disc downstairs.
I've got something in my head that tells me it was Alistair Overeem, but I don't know for definite. I might have just made that up. Because I think he had less than 10 fights, didn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't there.
I think he was.
He wasn't. I say he wasn't there long. He was there long because he was ill a lot of it.
But you don't fight an awful lot, do you? Unless, when you get to sort of the main event level, you maybe have 2-3 fights a year. Same as you would if you're a boxer, because you have to train for it. So that I'm sure he's 5-3 was his MMA record.
Cain
Velasquez.
And he returned in 141, losing to Alistair Overeem.
So going back to the wrestling, so your main event of the evening is the reigning defending Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Going up against everyone's favourite wrestler, Roman Reigns. So I say this because absolutely everybody hates it. So Roman Reigns has basically just become this generation's John Cena, in that people don't like him because they think he's being forced down their throats. You know, he's the golden goose of the company and stuff like that. He's the golden boy. He's always in the main events. People don't like him because they don't think he can wrestle very well. He can't talk very well on the microphone. Yeah, they're still adamant that he's the guy that they want moving forward and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with him personally. His wrestling style is perfectly fine. He puts on good matches. He can wrestle despite what anyone says. His microphone skills are terrible. He can't talk for anything. He is terrible on the microphone. But he'll get better. He has got better in the couple of years that he's been doing it. So he's not the worst on the mic, but he's by no means the best. There's always room for improvement. But I think as an overall package, he's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He can carry a match. He can do stuff like that. So this match was for the Universal Championship. So at this point, Brock Lesnar has been the champion since the previous year's WrestleMania.
Nice work.
So he's been champion for over a year. There's loads of rumours doing the rounds that he's going back to the UFC.
Yeah, because he still sort of thinks that he's got unfinished business there, doesn't he?
And to also bring it into the storyline, in the previous weeks before, Roman Reigns had been going out onto Monday Night Raw and calling him out, saying that he's a part-timer. You know, he's a bit of a bitch. So he's like Vince's boy, all this stuff. So hit me up, give me a prediction. Main event, WrestleMania.
Your winner. A new.
Oh, this guy.
New champion.
I like it.
Roman Reigns.
I like the pick. It's a solid pick. It's the pick that every other person would have made.
I'm starting to feel it's the wrong pick.
It's a pick that I think if you'd have looked at the betting the day before, Roman Reigns had probably been 100 to 1 on to win the match.
Right.
Brock Lesnar is going to the UFC. Doesn't make any sense to keep him as a champion, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Your winner,
and still
WWE Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. This is the match that surprised the hell out of me.
Now then, you say he's going to the UFC, because I heard a lot of rumblings that there's something about they're not convinced he can go back into the UFC.
Well, whenever if he does declare for the UFC again, he's immediately going to get suspended, because when he came back for UFC 200 against that Mark Hunt guy.
Yeah.
And whenever I listen to the Taz show, he always just goes Mark Hunt, not to be confused with Mike Hunt. He failed a drugs test for the Mark Hunt fight, and he was given like a 60-90 day suspension or something like that. And obviously he's never filled it.
Yeah.
Or he's never served it because he's not been in the company. So as soon as he officially signs back with them, he'll have to be suspended. He's immediately suspended for 60 days, 90 days, whatever. So how it's going to work, I've no idea.
Don't know.
So the match itself, awful, terrible. It was basically a case of Brock Lesnar, Brock Smash, as Joe Rogan said.
Brock Smash!
Picks him up, gives him a suplex.
Obvious.
Picks him up, gives him another suplex. Yeah. Picks him up, throws him outside. Okay. Picks him up, gives him another suplex. Picks him up, gives him another suplex. Picks him up, F5s him.
Okay.
Roman Reigns kicks out.
Yeah.
Picks him up, suplex. Picks him up, Hulk smash, Brock smash, whatever. Mm-hmm. Picks him up, another F5. Roman Reigns kicks out. Takes him outside. Potentially F5s him through one of the tables.
Yep.
Takes him back, puts him back in the ring, covers him, kicks out. Picks him up, another F5, kicks out. Picks him up, another F5, kicks out. So at this point, he's kicked out of 5 of his finishing moves, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Sounds like he needs a new finishing move.
Basically. At this point, Brock's obviously getting mad. Brock smashing, working.
Yeah.
So he does what every sensible person would do, takes off his Ultimate Fight gloves and his elbow pads and decides to go a little old school and gives him a couple of jabs to the face and then gets the old elbow straight in the head. So catches him right in the hairline.
Okay.
You look back, you turn away, you look back. Oh, what's all that paint that's on the canvas? Yeah, so he's cut him in the hairline. Legitimately, he's opened him up, and oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen that much blood.
Pissing like a tap.
Absolutely insane. So they say they use the phrase "the crimson mask" in wrestling quite a lot when people have got collar or juice, if you want. Mm-hmm. This guy, literally, all his face was red because it was just pouring out of him. The canvas was just there was pools of blood on the canvas.
See, it's things like this where I'm just like, is that scripted? Is that, and if because I know the guys, there was all the stuff about they'd have the razor blades in the wristbands and they'd pull the razor blade out and a little nick and they, I've seen the wrestler.
So to put it in perspective, they now have a no blood policy, which they've had for the past 10 years or so, I think.
Okay.
So you're not supposed to bleed.
Okay.
You're not supposed to blade. So you're not supposed to cut yourself on purpose to get blood.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, if you get punched in the wrong place and you get opened up naturally, there's not a lot they can do about that.
No.
But in the past, they have stopped matches to sort of like stop the bleeding on certain guys, and then restarted the match once they've stopped bleeding. This one obviously was right towards the end of the match.
Mm.
And like I said, he was just bleeding everywhere. So much blood, it was insane. So Roman Reigns sees the sight of his own blood, goes a little bit crazy, starts throwing out, Superman punches all over the place. Goes for his patented spear, misses. Brock Lesnar picks him up, big F5, covers him for the 1, 2, 3. Crowd just goes, "Whoa, what's just happened there?" Because if you'd have taken a straw poll, 99% of people would have said that Roman Reigns is going to win.
Yeah.
And so like that, because everyone just thinks that Brock's off.
Yeah.
And they want the idea is that they're building Roman Reigns up to be the guy, so they need him to beat Brock Lesnar to be cemented as the main guy.
Right.
So I think a lot of people were surprised when he didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. There's your over 7 hours worth of WrestleMania done and dusted.
Wow. Some ups, some downs.
Yeah, it was a generally good show. Ended on a bit of a downer for me because the match wasn't very good. I mean, the blood made it interesting.
Didn't sound very exciting.
But it wasn't the most exciting match of the evening.
Although I do like to see a nice F5.
Yeah, so yeah, it was good, but they need to do something about it because 7 hours sat in one position, like watching something, is ridiculous.
Oh man, I'd have been crying on that. Can you imagine back in the days when me and you used to go to the pub and drink the entire time it was on? We'd have been dead.
So, had we have gone to the pub to watch it, we'd have only had to watch 5 hours. Because it wouldn't have started until 12, but I did the thing of watching the 2 hour pre-show
right, okay,
before, so that's why it was 7 hours. So there are ways around it. So that,
Yeah.
So it went till 5:30ish in the morning.
Oh.
So when people say why was I not at work on that Monday, it's because I didn't go to bed till like 6.
Even the Super Bowl's done by like 3.
2, 3.
Exactly. It's like, they've really learned the lesson on that one. Wow.
So yeah, exciting, but could have been better. Some very good matches, some not so good matches. Yeah, all in all, a very entertaining evening.
I feel like I should have had some money on it, to be fair.
More than likely.
I picked a few winners.
But as discussed, you can't do accumulators with Sky Bet anymore, so it's pointless.
Yeah,
it's not worth your time. Not worth your effort.
Fair. So, Tuesday the next day.
Yeah, the Raw, not a lot happened on the Raw that was a massive sort of storyline enhancer.
Okay.
The main things that happened was that there was a couple of debuts of some new people that had come up from NXT.
Yeah, you did mention that previous.
So you had the former NXT Women's Champion, Ember Moon, made her Raw debut. You had the former NXT Tag Team Champions, the Authors of Pain, who made their debut.
Okay.
Their manager was also the manager of the Legion of Doom back in the day.
Yeah.
You had a gentleman by the name of No Way Jose, who's a bit of a fiesta dancer type. He's always got the conga line on the go. People are enamoured with him or something. And you had a re-debut by a former superstar.
Really?
I'm going to get you to guess this one. So, if you had to pick a superstar from back in the day that was basically a Brock Lesnar Mark II, who would you have guessed at?
Goldberg.
It was not Goldberg. If I was to say to you, this man is the Black Brock Lesnar, would you know what I was talking about?
Only because I remember you've said that phrase before.
Doesn't look like you're going to get it.
No.
Does the name Bobby Lashley mean anything to you?
Vaguely.
So Bobby Lashley was a guy they had in the late 2000s, or mid to late 2000s. I think he was there from 2006 to about 2008, 2009, something like that. Came in, excellent wrestler. I think he was a college athlete and stuff like that. Had like a little bit of previous in him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So came in, was very good for a couple of years, and then I think they had a problem with his wife, in which she accused him of racism and stuff like that, and obviously he left at the same time as she did in a solidarity thing. So he went to TNA, became the champion there, and then decided, you know what? I quite fancy I'm going to go mixed martial arts.
You do, right?
So he became an MMA fighter.
Good on him.
Fought for a company called Bellator.
Ah, yes. The infamous Bellator.
And I think he may... Well, I was going to say he may still fight for him, but I can't imagine that he has if he signed with WWE, because they don't really like to cross-brand that. So, him going back in has got tongues wagging, and it's making people think, ooh, are we going to get Lesnar versus Lashley? Battle of the MMA stars. And for me, that was the main thing that came out of that Raw, was that Lashley's back, and he's coming to get you.
Okay. SmackDown
was a little bit different. So, the main thing that happened on SmackDown was that Paige...
She gone.
She announced her retirement from in-ring competition. So, Paige came out and said that...
a quiz we did in the last week.
Oh no, I tell a lie. She announced her retirement on Raw.
No.
Very sorry, I've got that wrong. So, she then comes out on SmackDown because Daniel Bryan, now that he's reinstated as a wrestler, has relinquished his position of general manager of SmackDown.
Okay.
So he's now just a wrestler again.
Okay.
So Shane McMahon announced the new general manager of SmackDown.
Was it Paige?
And it was Paige. So Paige comes out.
Equality going on there.
So Paige comes out, and her first act as general manager of SmackDown is to make the main event for the evening. So we have the reigning, defending WWE champion AJ Styles going up against...
Don't know. Brock Lesnar. No. A woman. That kid.
Who she just replaced?
Shane McMahon. No. Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan, yes! So, obviously, the people went wild for this because Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles is legitimately a match that people want to see.
Okay.
So, Paige announces that. Then, throughout the course of the evening, there's another couple of people who turn up. These new female wrestlers called the Iconics. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay.
Okay.
They turn up and they attack the current women's champion, Charlotte Flair. Ooh, nasty. Naughty, naughty, naughties. So they attack her and they leave her in a pile on the floor. She's just there as a heap. It's at this time that a lady by the name of Carmella takes it upon herself to run down to ringside with her Money in the Bank contract. Cashes in and becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Oh. Good
So
work.
yeah, so that was probably the best thing that happened on SmackDown.
Okay.
And sets the wheels in motion for the coming year of wrestling shite. So there you have it.
Was that it?
That was WrestleMania weekend.
WrestleMania weekend. Boom.
Done and dusted.
And done. So there we go. Part 2 of our WrestleMania special with our wrestling correspondent, Mr. Paul Williams. Thank you once again for being my
anytime
podcast partner.
Anytime, sir.
We'll have to decide what we'll do next time. We'll have to go back to our standard podcast format.
That's fine. I'm assuming there's I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's not going to be that many people that are going to listen to this one.
I can already name people that'll be clamouring to get to this bad boy. I'm going to have to release it quite soon as well because
keep it relevant.
So I think I'm going to release it back to back with this weekend's release.
Boom.
So there'll be, and this weekend's release is a 2-parter, so there'll be 4
Oh my god,
you're
giving them more than they can handle.
And you might be lucky because I'm going to play my new theme tune and totally didn't put it on the other podcast, so you might get the new theme tune as your thing. So there we go. WrestleMania Part 2 in the bag. Done. Boom. Paul Williams, thank you very much as always.
You're very welcome.
And,
anytime.
I will see you next time.
Indeed.
Bye-bye. So there you go. What did you think to that? Part 2 in the bag, WrestleMania special. What are you guys thinking to these specials? Like I said previously, I think there's going to be a few of these specials coming up. So is it a format you like? Is there a special you'd like to see? Something you'd like us to actually talk about or address? As always, go to thecookiecast.com. Give us a shout. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Let us know what you're thinking about the podcast in general, and we'll see what we can do about making some more podcasts that you guys want to listen to. But until then, bye-bye.